again. I think I'll crack open the socialist bottle again today. Talk about property. Now, property is a fiction. Say, for instance, you have a watch on the table, right? And you call that your watch. I say, that is my watch on the table. What you mean by that, my, is a set of claims that you have upon the watch. You claim to be able to do what you want with it when you want with it. Right, even in the modern social construction of that claim, you're not allowed to pick up the watch and kill somebody with it. You can, if you're strong enough, you can pick it up and whack it into somebody's head enough times until they're dead. But in the legal fiction that is called property, you're not allowed to do that with your property. And these claims that you have on the watch, they only exist, or they only have meaning or sense if everybody else agrees with you. And because of this, and because of the, what's that? I'm looking for this posh word for it. It's like a changeable kind of word. Anyway, yeah, because of the changeable nature of humans and how we're always changing, people will contest that claim. It's called theft. And so what society has to back the claim is a police force. So property rights are not natural. You do not have a natural right to your property. In fact, you do not have a natural right to anything, including your life. I'm sorry, if somebody wants to murder you, and they can, and they do, well, they've just murdered you, haven't they? But we have a police force and what the police force acts like, right? You can talk about the body politic. And the police force is, in a sense, a pen of the body politic, in which the mental thoughts of the body politic, which are written down in law codes and law books, is then written into the kind of social reality. So they're hoping that the body politic itself will behave like a pigeon in a Skinner box. You know, if you give it a treat when it does a certain thing, it will eventually do that thing when you tell it to for the treat, and if you punish it when it doesn't, then it won't do that. So that's what the police force is there for. That's what they're acting as. Now, all this, I'm not saying any of this is bad in and of itself. I'm not an anarchist, because I think what anarchism will lead to is just the weak being exploited, which is pretty much what we got. But what I'm saying is that because property is a legal fiction, and a fiction developed by a community in consensus, what we can do is we can change the nature of that fiction. We're allowed to, whether that has any meaning or not, but we can, and if we do, we did. Simple. And the current definition of property allows people to exploit other people, and it leads inevitably towards monopolies where the majority of the property is owned by a minority of the people, and they use the legal fiction of property to extract from everybody else the majority of the necessities for survival, what we call wealth. There's this cool little meme I saw on Facebook which talks about if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. If you teach a man to fish with a fishing rod, he'll feed himself forever. If you teach a man to fish and only let him use your fishing rod, then he will and give you 50% of his catch. He will catch you fish forever. And if you do this for everybody, you develop capitalism. And that's what we've done. Because the man who owns the fishing pole is allowed to rent it to people, which is essentially what he's doing, he is able to force everybody else to give him something essentially for nothing. Because I mean, that fishing pole has a finite value, say £50. I don't know how much fishing poles cost. But that finite value is rapidly exceeded by the 50% of the catch that the people keep giving him forever and ever and ever. So it's that ability to do that particular thing with your property is what I'm getting at, that I think we should adjust. I'm not saying we should get rid of property. I'm saying we should establish laws and use the police force to stop property being used in certain ways, like we already do. We let people own knives. We even let people use knives in a capitalistic sense, i.e. like a kind of commercial kitchen. But we don't let people kill people with knives. And yet, of course, there'll be problems of enforcement and stuff like that, but there's problems of enforcement with all crimes. So what we need to do is we need to recognise that we create these fictions and that we have power over these fictions, instead of letting these fictions dominate over our lives. Goodbye.